Detective Ming and an artifact appraisal expert set off together. When Chuenzi heard that he could go too, Lai Ma felt a sudden wave of emotion. Uncle Lio didn't say anything on the surface, but after Officer Wu left, the shot is closing for the night. Uncle Lio just expressed his thoughts. He thinks this operation is very dangerous. What if there are unexpected situations? He also finds it difficult to ensure the safety of the string. So I hope Chuenzi can go home and stay for a while, quietly waiting for Uncle Lio to return. But Chuenzi wouldn't agree. His legs are long. He absolutely has to go on this trip. Uncle Lio felt quite helpless. So I could only take him back to the old house to get some things. Push open the door of the old house. Uncle Lio arrived under a beam. The left hand snapped its fingers. Shouted out loud, "See you soon." Right hand up. A treasure sword suddenly appeared from the mirror. Then he snapped his fingers again with his right hand. Shout again. The stick is coming. With a flick of the index finger, the floor suddenly cracked open. A golden dragon staff suddenly burst forth from the ground, fly into Uncle Lio's hand. Chuenzi was amazed at the sight. Upon closer inspection of this finely crafted cane, truly a masterful skill. The child was curious about such an exquisite cane. What is it used for? Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "These artifacts are for Officer Wu and the others to defend themselves. Those two look cool, but this razor can indeed ward off evil." Uncle Lio emphasized that he must keep it safe. The day of departure was the 8th of April. Officer Wu was driving a van. Arrive early at the village entrance to wait for them. Everyone is on board the vehicle. The car door closed. The crowd set off directly towards their destination. After several days of long journey, the group finally arrived. The filming location of the documentary is Zunyuing Forest in Guangxi. Officer Wu brought in a local tour guide to lead them. On the first night deep in the forest, the sky began to pour with heavy rain. Everyone set up tents in the forest. Prepare to spend the night here. Preparation of materials. Waking up in the middle of the night, Chuenzi suddenly smelled a fragrance. Opening my eyes, I see. A beautiful woman actually climbed onto her bed. As the saying goes, a knife hangs above the character for love. A man goes camping in the wild. In the middle of the night, I unexpectedly found a beautiful woman climbing onto my bed. Chuenzi thought to himself, "It seems there are no women in the group." In contemplation, the woman has reached out to stroke the child's face. Suddenly, she pounced into the embrace of Chuenzi. At this moment, Chuenzi was still thinking. In the desolate mountains and wilderness, where did this girl suddenly come from? But immediately the girl stuck out her tongue again, just as Chuenzi completely lost the ability to resist. The girl suddenly rolled her eyes, transformed into a vengeful ghost, just about to take action against Chuenzi. Suddenly, an angry roar came from behind. "Which demon are you?" "Tse." Uncle Lio suddenly appeared in a blue cloak. The beauty instantly transformed into a blue light and darted out of the tent, diving into the woods. At this moment, everyone in the tent had already woken up. Chuenzi felt a bit uncomfortable in his neck, about to reach out with a hand. But Uncle Lio sternly scolded him. Local guide Agui told Chuenzi, "This is the corpse field. Tell him to never touch the area where the corpse field is." Chuenzi looked up and asked Uncle Lio, "What should he do now?" Uncle Lio felt quite helpless too. "String, you've really gotten yourself into trouble now." Immediately, Uncle Lio took out a handful of glutinous rice and sprinkled it on the skewer. Chuenzi listened and did as told. "Ask Uncle Lio what he plans to do next." Uncle Lio took out the gong plate. Let Chuenzi take a look at his neck. At this moment, the place on Chuenzi's neck had been marked by the dead field. It has already started to darken. He asked Uncle Lio, "What happened to you?" A gooey next to him took the tea and told Chuenzi. His neck was licked by the corpse. So here they call it the field of corpses. If this continues like this, it won't be long. The entire body of the Chuenzi will be covered in black lines. If you can't stay up until dawn, you'll miss out. Chuenzi felt hopeless upon hearing that. Why am I so unlucky? He remembered Uncle Lio's remarkable abilities. There must be a way to save him. Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "What he is infected with is not a corpse poison, but rather a kind of poison. This poison will spread through the blood in the body. Once it enters the brain or heart, even if the great deity comes, it would still be powerless to change the situation." Chuenzi desperately pleaded with Uncle Lio to save him. He could die right now, and it would be fine. But Uncle Lio said coldly, "Is that so?" Chuenzi noticed that Uncle Lio's expression was off. Suddenly, I was scared and sweating profusely. "Uncle, you can't be serious, right?" Uncle Lio quickly covered the mouth of the. At this point, "It can only be this way." Officer Wu beside him was startled. "Master Lio, what is this for?" At this moment, Uncle Lio was completely oblivious. He raised the razor toward Chuenzi's neck. "Chuenzi, please be patient. It might hurt a little. I will soon set you free." "No way. Uncle, are you serious?" Uncle Lio swiftly brought down the knife, muttering incantations in my mouth. At the moment the knife struck, blood splattered. When I woke up again, Chuenzi found himself floating in the clouds. Looking around, only a vast expanse of white. Suddenly, a loud noise came from behind. Chuenzi turned back to take a look. Suddenly, a giant golden armored general appeared behind. Chuenzi was startled. There is actually someone dressed in ancient clothing. This appearance seems a bit familiar. Suddenly, the string was held in the giant's palm, just when he thought the other party was going to crush him to death. Suddenly, he was jolted awake from his dream. At that moment, Uncle Lio was guarding by Chuenzi's side. "Awake, it seems that Igui was right. The poison gas on your neck will dissipate automatically by dawn. Kongxing has a certain technique. It can sever a person's bloodline. The condemned may suffer from slow blood flow and enter a state of coma or suspended animation. To help the skewers last until dawn. Last night he had no choice but to use this trick on the con artist." Chuenzi listened afterward. "This is when I suddenly understood. Then, in order to quickly find the remains in Wangbei village, we need to search for the stolen goods." The group continued their journey into the depths of the forest. "Do you know what Shangxiao is?" The so-called Shan Zio is not the ghostly figure people usually imagine. It is a presence that is neither a ghost nor a material object nor a demon. It is said that the gorilla encountered a python, was swallowed, and then was spit out. The body was hanging from the branch. Absorbed the essence of heaven and earth without consuming it, after trying everything, and it transformed into a mountain sky. Master Lio told Chuenzi, "Last night he encountered the beautiful woman who licked his neck. It is very likely that it is Shan Zio." Chuenzi felt a wave of nausea after hearing that. Master Lio then comforted. "Even the great mountains may not have come this way, but they must possess the malevolent aura of demons." On the road deep into the forest, Daidebui said, "Last night, when Chuenzi met Shangxiao, he found his dog, Ziohei, hiding in a tree hollow, shivering with fear. This situation has never happened before. Master Lyo acted swiftly last night to save Chuenzi. It is also because the phenomenon of the sinking needle appeared in the compass. The so-called sinking needle, also known as a head pin. It falls within the realm of Fengmen Qishu. It is a type of needle used in paper-based acupuncture that involves the intervention of yin energy. It is manifested by the compass needle pointing downward. But last night before they set up camp, the compass showed no unusual signs. Otherwise, Uncle Lyo wouldn't agree to camp there. So he speculated based on this. The monster last night broke into the camp during the night. As they were speaking, a group of people arrived at the Grand Canyon. A prey unexpectedly appeared between the two mountains. A group of people crossed the narrow prey. Then suddenly everything became clear. It feels like stepping into a paradise. Aku spoke only to the east. Next, they just need to cross from the foot of the mountain to reach there. But at this moment, Uncle Lyo raised an objection. He pointed to the west. I suggest everyone walk that way. Agui immediately panicked upon hearing this. It's unfortunate to walk to the west. That place has been blocked off by the mountain god. Intruders are doomed without a doubt. The little hay next to it explains everything. Look at him trembling like that. I knew I definitely couldn't go west. As a local Agui, believing in the local mountain god is essential. Even though he spoke with certainty, Master Lyo still insisted on his judgment, claiming that if following Aguo's route around the mountain, they will only enter a maze. Even without danger, there will also be no effort without law. But Agui still firmly disagreed. At this moment, Officer Wu stepped in to mediate. Let them not rush or get anxious for now. Let's first express our respective viewpoints. Listen to whoever is right. Agui said that going east was to avoid the spring water. This is undeniable. But Master Lyo, you said to head west. Why is this happening again? Master Lyo pointed out. The two mountains ahead are the same size. Born next door. This is called Liangxing in Feng Shui. Mountain spring water is the water dragon. This is a typical Liangxing water dragon formation in the 9-star water method. As the water rises, the dragon soars down the stream. This is the most auspicious Feng Shui site. Assuming Wanbei village is really in the mountains. It must be built according to the principles of Feng Shui. How could one go against the natural order? Wai Lai established the village in the mountains. If they listen afterwards, he expressed his willingness to follow Master Lyo, searching for a village deep in the mountains. It must be based on the principles of Feng Shui and the terrain. Moreover, water is a blessing that gathers wealth. Where can villages gather with just a cup of water? The simplest principle is that, without water, the villagers cannot survive at all. At this moment, Agui was very angry. Since you won't listen to advice, then I can no longer be your guide. After all, he is still a child of the mountains. Absolutely must not commit a taboo because of this. After speaking, he turned and left. Master Lyo does not force anyone. Part ways with him from a distance. Watching him leave, Chuenzi felt a bit worried. After all, this is the deep mountains and old forests. Can we really manage without a local guide? But Uncle Lyo turned to look at him. The gaze was filled with hardness. Many terrifying legends are often passed down in the mountains. The local guide Agui once said, "The people here all believe. In the mountains there is an underground city of demons. They say every night the monsters from underground will emerge from a hollow in an old locust tree, then searched for people all around the mountains. After finding the person, lead them to the hollow by the old huai tree. Insert a person into the tree hole, pointing at a deer showing a head. Then insert the supervisor into the person's brain, sucking the brains of humans. Every time we talk about this point, a GUI would shiver in fear. But Master Lyo and the others in front remained completely unmoved. Master Lyo and the others hired a GUI to take them deep into the mountains. But ultimately, due to disagreements on the route, Agui chose to abandon Master Lyo and the others, returning alone along the route, facing the deep mountains and forests that I have never set foot in before. Master Lyo appeared confident and composed. He is proficient in the 9-star water method. I had long anticipated the housing development plans for Wanbei village. Following the water will surely lead to the ruins of Wanbei village. Of course, the premise is that this village truly exists. Master Lyo and his group traveled a long way to the Zanian forest at the border of Guangxi and Vietnam, only to search for the legendary Wanbei village ruins. Searching for the lost treasure, in Master Lyo's view, Zanyuan forest is nominally a forest, but in reality it is a vast and continuous mountain range. The natural scenery here is exceptional. Someone is building a village here. That was completely normal. If that weren't the case, it would truly be strange. So even if there is no Wanbei village here, there should also be Wandong village or Wangxi village. But now there isn't even half a village here. It is enough to prove that a tragedy indeed occurred on this mountain. It not only led to the destruction of Wanbei village, it also intimidated the surrounding crowd. With this understanding, combine it with the previous treasure legend of the Russian nobility. Master Lyo guessed that the treasure was likely real, but there is one thing he never understood. Why did the entire Wanbei village disappear without a trace, not leaving a trace at all? Even when faced with disaster, everyone has died out. But the house, the fence hall, drum performance venue. Surely not everything can be ruined by zombies. Xuanzai also thought this was indeed very strange. However, Uncle Lyo has now figured it out. The answer to the question. Agui had already informed them earlier. Agui once said, "There is an underground demon city in this mountain. There is a high possibility of this. Such a vast mountainous area forms several massive underground caves. It's perfectly normal. If someone builds a village in a cave, it's not impossible either. After that, Russian nobles came here to hide their treasure, suddenly discovered that someone lived in the cave. To keep the treasures secret, they slaughtered the villagers. The counterfeit led to a trial argument. The treasure hunting team all thought of a place. But these are ultimately just guesses. By nightfall, a group of people stopped to set up camp and rest. Xuanzi is urinating alone in the grass. Bawogi took advantage of the absence of people around, suddenly pulled out a dagger from behind, pressing against the neck of the traitor. She pushed the cart into the woods, interrogating the traitor. Did Master Lyo say anything else to her? If you don't speak, I'll kill her. Xuanzi thought it was something serious. Isn't it just an inference? I'll just tell you. There's no need for a knife. As soon as Kikozi finished speaking, she suddenly saw Yuo Kai behind the bushes. A pale face suddenly appeared in the deep mountains and dense forests. Suddenly a pale face appeared behind the man. Suddenly he glared wide-eyed. The person across the street saw everything clearly. At this moment, Bawoki is pressing the usurper with a knife, suddenly realized something unusual behind him. In an instant, Yuo Kai hurled the dagger, directly stabbed at that ghostly face. But just at the moment the flying dagger pierced the ghostly face, that face vanished with a soft thud. Xuanzi and Bawoki were puzzled by the current situation. Dare not act rashly. Time is short. That ghostly face suddenly reappeared slowly from the bushes. At this moment the ghost face swayed slightly. The two thought someone was using a mirror to play tricks behind the tree. Then he knocked over the two notebooks. Catch them red-handed. They didn't expect that when they finally ran behind the tree, they discovered there was actually no one there. The two felt a chill run down their spines. Was that ghostly face real? At that moment, a sudden wail echoed from the tree. It's. The two of them listened. Scared, my hair stood on end. Just ran away. When they ran to the campsite, the two were already out of breath. Kai told Uncle Lio about what had happened. Officer Wu immediately got excited. I've never seen a ghost in my life. He wants to see for himself today. Then everyone lit their torches. Carry your weapons well, heading towards the woods we just saw. As the group ventured deeper into the woods, a mournful cry echoed once again from above. Suffering, suffering. Officer Wu found the sound truly eerie. Uncle Lyle listened twice, immediately recognized this voice. In the village where he used to live, there was a type of bird called bitterbird. Their cries sound very much like humans saying suffering. But that is bird language, not the original words. Uncle Lio took a deep breath, let out a roar towards the forest. The kunio flies and calls out in the sky. Fly out of the woods. Flying towards the sky. Then, under the guidance of Chuanzi, they quickly found the tree from earlier. Expert Lao Guo discovered a bronze mirror hanging from a tree. Immediately recognized. This is a double fish bronze mirror. It is a genuine antique. For this, Kai sighed. Antiques are casually hung on the tree. The people here are really wealthy. Chuanzi immediately became excited upon hearing the word antique. Now we've made it big. Suddenly, Lao Guo splashed a bucket of cold water on the two of them. This copper mirror, although an antique, but the workmanship is relatively rough, has certain research value, but has no economic value. Just as they were speaking, Lao Guo found another treasure on the ground. Upon seeing this thing, Lao Guo was immediately astonished, immediately reached out to pick it up and examined it closely. This is actually the inside painted snuff bottle by Yi Johnson. Priceless treasure. It truly is a priceless treasure. Upon hearing this, Chuanzi and Liu Kai were both staring at the piles of cash. Lai Ma eagerly wanted to go nearby and take a look. Let's see if there are any other priceless treasures. Clearly forgotten the earlier fear, Uncle Lio awkwardly said. Chuanzi is just a more practical child. Officer Wu stated, I don't know if it's real or not. It's true that people value money over life. As soon as Officer Wu finished speaking, an incident occurred right away over there at Chuanzi. The creature darting through the forest was suddenly tripped by something. The flashlight suddenly fell. Just a crack sound. The flashlight was suddenly caught and distorted by a trap that appeared in the grass. The falling string was startled. The thing that tripped him just now must be the trigger device of this trap. Uncle Lio heard the sound. Come over with the torch to take a look. Unexpectedly, a corpse caught in a trap was discovered. The staff held in the corpse's hand. Master Lio recognized it at a glance. That is exactly offered by Zhang Tianchi, the 5 thunder corpse suppressing pestle used to suppress zombies. It is said that there is a magical artifact in the deist sect, the corpse pestle of Wulei town, invented by Zhang Tianchi, specifically used to suppress zombies. Master Lio accidentally stumbled upon a skeleton in the forest. Expert appraiser Lao Guo stepped forward to examine closely, judged by the degree of the package. This thing has a history of about 200 years. It is roughly an object from the Mid-Qing dynasty. According to Master Lao's words, this staff is a divine artifact from the deist sect. In this way, it not only has economic value, it also possesses academic and historical value. At this moment, Officer Wu also rushed over. It seems there is something else behind the tree next to the skeleton. The subordinate stepped forward to take a look. It turned out to be the backpack of a victim. Officer Wu asked them to check. If there's no danger, then take a look. At the moment the subordinate unzipped the backpack. A foul smell hit me hard. Inside were several pieces of meat wrapped in white cloth. It is obviously a package of human flesh. Chuenzi and Officer Wu crouched in the bushes, retching uncontrollably. If one firmly asserts while pinching their nose, this must have been done by zombies. But Officer Wu denied this inference. He concluded that this was definitely not the work of zombies. But it was with the Russians. If they do not understand, where did Officer Wu come to this conclusion? Is this all based on a few pieces of bacon? Officer Wu responded, "You're right. Just based on these few pieces of bacon. They have studied criminal history extensively as police officers. This method of cutting flesh from a person and curing it with salt. It is a unique form of torture used by the Russian mafia. The translation into English is never clear eyes. They will first cut off a person's eyelids, preventing the victim from closing their eyes. Could only watch helplessly as the flesh and blood on my body, bit by bit, it was cut away by a sharp blade, then soak in the salt. But this kind of torture, it is not meant to extract information from the victim. It is merely a simple punishment." Officer Wu speculates. This person may be a member of a Russian crime syndicate. Perhaps coming here is to seek treasure. In fact, he did find the treasure. Just unfortunate to be trapped here by the mechanism. Later, he was found by his accomplices and killed in a cruel manner. Looking at the bones on the ground, Rocky clearly showed a bit of disdain. He greatly admires Officer Wu's extensive knowledge. But here he must refute. If this person is really a Russian, then why does he have the Five Thunder Formation Corps staff in his hand? If the Russian mafia really came to this place, so why did they leave behind a pile of antiques? Is it to reward these latecomers? At this moment Master Lao spoke. He remembered that Rocky had said before he arrived, "As long as Master Lao can help find Wang Bei village in this forest, Rocky will be able to find the local treasure." Rocky also admits this. He indeed said it. However, if the Russians really got there first, and so their treasure hunting journey comes to an end. The old man was pointing at the antique he just found, babbling nonsense. "These antique items I've just picked up are already very valuable." However, Chuenzi was still a bit confused. If these are really all the work of the Russian mafia, how do they explain the ghostly face they encountered in the woods? Officer Wu suspected that Chuenzi and Rocky might have misjudged the situation just now, but Rocky insisted it was absolutely impossible. His two eyes are no worse than a pilot's. At such a close distance, how could I make the same mistake twice? Moreover, Chuenzi was also present at that time. Surely, both people can't be mistaken at the same time. Master Lao warns everyone, "Be very careful when you come here. Once you take a wrong step, it is very likely the abyss of hell." That night, Officer Wu stood guard at the camp all night. Master Lao wiped away the mistakes of the Five Thunder Formation all night. Only the string is carefree, sleeping soundly. This night passed peacefully. The next morning, everyone got up and continued on their journey. Kiliao had just left not long ago. Once again encountering a stream, Master Lao took out the gong and began to explore. The terrain here resembles a white snake lifting its head. There is a type of terrain in Feng Shui called white snake raising its head. Generally speaking, the high mountains and flowing water allow the stream to flow smoothly downward. This is called a water dragon in Feng Shui. If there are no towering mountains on both sides of the water dragon, that is the perfect location for building a house. Conversely, it is suitable for building a tomb. In summary, it is a piece of land with good Feng Shui. But with the dragon's heart, there will be a way to dissolve. When the water reaches its end, it is where the dragon dissipates. The bend of the water flow before me. The name is by Shikayo Shu, rather than the water dragon lifting its head. It should be man-made excavation, rather than naturally formed. This man-made landscape, it generally comes from the Feng Shui school, the leader of a faction called Shovelhead. They have been digging river channels to manage the water flow for many years. Let's transform the natural Feng Shui. And the white snake raised her head. It is one of those Feng Shui landscapes that are of no help to fortune. So the artificially modified waterway. It cannot be called a water dragon, and can only be referred to as the white snake. Right now, Master Liao and his group ventured deep into the jungle in search of treasure. Just happened to encounter this kind of artificial Feng Shui. Wu Jingyuan felt, since it was transformed for the purpose of deceiving people to buy land, that means someone must have lived here. But at that moment, Rocky raised an objection. In his view, this white snake's elegance is not merely for aesthetics, but there is more to it than meets the eye. Master Liao was somewhat confused after hearing that, expressing grievances about the weather. So Rocky took off his backpack, turned and plunged into the water flow. He bent down and reached out. He then pulled up a piece of ebony wood from the water. The ebony ball emitted wisps of white smoke. Wu Jingyuan was puzzled by what he saw. Immediately draw the gun and aim at Liuoqi. Little rascal, stop right there. What do you want to do? Master Liao reached out and asked Wu Jingyuan to put down the gun. This is not a hazardous material, but rather a piece of dragon's egg wood. It's just that Master Liao doesn't understand. How did Rocky know that there was treasure hidden in the riverbed? Rocky jokingly said, Master Liao is indeed a master expert. At a glance, he recognized the long-extinct dragon egg wood root. As soon as I heard it was Longtai wood, expert appraiser Lao Guo was astonished. Wu Jingyuan was puzzled. What brings you here? Lao Guo explained. This is quite a big deal. Longtai Mui is also known as Longxiang Mu. It is a type of tree that grows underwater with root-like stems, because its wood emits a fragrance similar to that of Longxian incense. So it is a very precious tree species. Lao Guo had only seen the wooden carvings of dragon embryo wood at the Palace Museum before. At the same time, it is currently the only remaining dragon embryo wood carving in the world. Yuo Kai saw that old Guo had a keen eye for quality. He casually tossed the dragon egg wood ball to old Guo. It's for you. At this moment, Master Liao was still greatly puzzled. He had never heard of anyone being able to predict that there were treasures buried in a river. What kind of method is this? Yuo Kai smiled faintly. This is very simple, because this wooden ball was buried by him personally. As soon as these words were spoken, Uncle Liao and the others were taken aback. Officer Wu immediately aimed his gun at Rocky, but Liuoqi remained calm as ever, not the slightest hint of fear. At this moment, Uncle Liao's wood fragrance faintly glowed red, signaling that danger is approaching. As expected, the grass around began to rustle. Suddenly, a group of armed soldiers burst out from the bushes, aimed the gun at Master Liao and the others. Master Liao had considered various possibilities in advance, but I truly didn't expect Rocky to pull such a stunt. He does not understand that Rocky is scheming. Bring them here under false pretenses. What is the true intention? Rocky sneered and said, "Everything is for you." Mr. Lyo. Master Lyo felt even more confused after hearing this. "For me? Who exactly are you?" Rocky was just about to respond. A loud shout came from behind. "I am Liu Kingshan. I've long admired Mr. Lyo's great reputation." A burly man appeared. A figure emerged from the bushes. The seemingly desolate powdery seeds. It is the extremely dangerous 18-linked sound killing trap in Feng Shui, to search for the legendary treasure. Master Lyo and his companions, deep into the jungle searching for the lost village. Unexpectedly, a traitor named Luoki appeared in the ranks. From the very beginning of this treasure hunt journey, it is the heart-stopping trap of Luoki. The goal is solely to lure Master Lyo, the gatekeeping expert, into the game. But Rocky was not the mastermind behind this. The real mastermind behind it all is actually a big, dark-skinned man. This person's name is Liu Kingshan, known as Fourth Brother on the streets. He is a famous tomb raider from the northwest region. Right now, Master Lyo and the others are surrounded by Liu Kingshan's men, although there were 3 police officers in Master Lyo's team. But for these desperadoes, if you don't surrender willingly, they still continue to fight. Officer Wu spat at the traitor Rocky, was beaten bloody by Liu Kingshan's men. Master Lyo had heard of Liu Kingshan, but this is Guangxi. It's not his territory at all. Liu Kingshan had a mischievous grin on his face, claiming that it's been tough in the northwest lately. Valuable stocks are becoming increasingly rare. Just wander around. Fortunately, they encountered a master like Rocky. Otherwise, life will be really tough. Master Lyo knew that Rocky was a master thief. But since Liu Kingshan had Rocky as his assistant, why bring him into the game? Liu Kingshan said with a smile, "This is all recommended by Luoki. He said it was only Mr. Lyo. Only then can we find the buried treasure of the Russian Duke." But Master Lyo still did not understand. He has been living in seclusion for many years. No one knows he studied Tianxin Feng Shui. Where did Rocky get the news? Rocky felt that this was not something to be alarmed about. So I told Master Lyo. Lyo Tianxin's grandson is involved in tomb robbing. He has a list in his hand. The names of the apprentices collected by the old master are written above. Before entering the cell, he handed this paper to Luoki. Among them is Master Lyo's grandfather, Lyo Leihe. Rocky knew that Lyo Sanai was exceptionally talented. Mastering the extraordinary arts of the world, Feng Shui is naturally unquestionable, and Master Lyo is the direct, eldest grandson of the old master. Nature will reveal its true teachings. After hearing these words, Master Lyo just understood the situation. It's not the theft that worries me, but the thief's lingering thoughts. At this moment, Liu Kingshan was indifferent to the two's chatter. "I am already getting impatient. Hurry up and find the treasure. That's what really matters." He immediately raised his gun and aimed at Chuenzi's head. He knew that Master Lyo and Chuenzi were as close as father and son. So they used the strings as leverage. Force Master Lyo to comply obediently. Help them find the treasure. In the face of such a situation, Master Lyo remained calm and unhurried. Zin Mayo casually asked Liu Kingshan to put down his gun. "Since it is just about seeking wealth, why hurt lives?" Liu Kingshan saw that Master Lyo was also an insightful person. He would no longer make things difficult for Chuenzi. However, Master Lyo had said it first. "Walk 2 more kilometers along the mountain path. There may be zombies blocking the way." as soon as I heard about the zombies. Everyone was filled with terror. Liu Qingshan thought that he could just take a detour then. They only seek wealth. I don't want to risk my life. But taking a detour won't work either. Other paths may have more terrifying monsters. This won't work, and that won't work either. Liu Qingshan wanted to ask Master Liu, "Can we do without this zombie?" Master Liu told him, "This is not impossible. He just needs his own magical artifact. You must listen to this." Rocky immediately voiced his strong opposition. He knew Master Liu's magic was profound. Once the artifact is retrieved, I'm afraid the consequences will be endless. Liu Qingshan directly pressed the knife against Xuanzi's throat, using this to threaten Master Liu. He promised to give Master Liu a magical artifact, but the premise is that Master Liu must walk in front. Keep a distance of 20 meters from them. Rocky couldn't help but admire. Fourth brother truly lives up to his reputation as a wanderer. This method is truly brilliant. Just like that, Liu Shifu retrieved his magical tool, setting off once again on the road. After that, Master Liu led the way ahead. Almost walked 2 kilometers. Suddenly, a grave appeared ahead. Liu Qingshan is knowledgeable and well informed. At a glance, one could tell. This place is the eerie and sinister land of Yinsha. Have you heard of the Yinsha land in Feng Shui? It is said that the dead are buried in this place. The corpse will not decay at all. Once the shadow sand enters the palace of destiny, the dead will undergo corpse transformation, bursting from the grave, and the zombies that emerge from this shadowy sand land. It's called the Shadow Sand. Uncle Liu and his group delved deep into the mountains, searching for the lost treasure, passing through a graveyard. The soil here is dark. The plants wither. The most eerie place is every grave mound. There is a pit. The tomb raider Liu Qingshan recognized it at a glance. This place is the Yinsha land. At this moment, Master Liu, leading the way, wielded the 5 thunder formation corpse staff. Insert into the black mud. Pulling out the sword from behind, he strode forward. After that, I climbed up a crooked tree and looked around, counted the graves on the ground. When Master Liu finished counting everything, suddenly my heart skipped a beat, jumped down from the tree immediately, hurried back to tell everyone. What danger could there possibly be? Master Liu explained. This place is the legendary 18-linked Tian formation, the most dangerous kind found in the wild graves, the so-called 18-linked rings. It refers to a mass grave where the number of graves just happens to add up to 18. It aligns with the saying of the 18 layers of hell. If the 18 graves were built on flat ground, then it can be considered peaceful. But what if it's built in 2 layers, one on top of the other? Jukshan. If it is built in 3 layers, upper, middle, and lower. Yin. The graves here are divided into 3 layers. The local atmosphere has been completely invaded by the dark sand. This is a bizarre terrain visible to the naked eye. Liu Qingshan, a grave robber. Of course, I know the dangers of the 18-linked grave of Yinsha. It is clear that Uncle Liu's words are not false, just as he planned to retreat. But then a cold laugh was heard from behind. Fourth brother, never fall for his tricks. This is Liu Fan's scheme. He just wants to trick us into his trap. The speaker is indeed the subordinate of Liu Qingshan, the rat. Master Liu was originally forced into this situation by them. At this moment, regarding Master Liu's words, it's normal to have doubts. But Master Liu still insisted. He definitely did not see wrong. 10 meters down from here, there are 3 layers of graves. 18 graves. all perfectly align with the techniques of the 18 linked sand traps. He advised Liu Qingshan not to get into trouble, but the rat doesn't buy into this at all. Indicates that they also have some understanding of magic. Let's go and break this shadow sand situation. Liu Qingshan smiled with narrowed eyes after hearing this. I really didn't expect his subordinates had this kind of ability. So he promised the mouse that, as long as this could be achieved, go back and tell him to take on an important task. The rat thanks you in advance. He immediately slung the rifle over his shoulder. Take out the gourd and whip you carry with you. Liu Qingshan took a look. Black dog blood and black dog whip. This is all just a trick of coercion. You kid are pretty good. The rat strode forward confidently. Walk to the center of the cemetery. Surround yourself with a circle of dog blood. Then he raised the whip and struck the air. While whipping, he also recited Conju. At that moment, Chuanzi suddenly saw, in the graveyard, a faint sound rose, releasing a wave of dark mist. Liu Qingshan also noticed that something was wrong. Lai Ma shouted loudly, "Hey, Ozzy, come back quickly." At this moment, the mouse remained full of confidence. I turned back and gave the boss a sly smile, gave a thumbs up. But soon the situation took a turn. The smile on the mouse's face instantly turned into a twitch. Then he whipped fiercely. Now everyone can see it. The behavior of the rat is almost insane. However, next, something even more unexpected happened. The rat walked to the tree, wrapped the whip around the tree branch. How terrifying are those possessed by evil! The man smiled confidently, gave a thumbs up to the boss. The smile on my face the next second, but it instantly turned into a strange convulsion. The man swung the whip furiously without stopping. The whole person is in a state of radical madness. Everyone looked on in astonishment, but no one dared to step forward and stop them, because the man is stepping on. It is the most dangerous 18-linked yin killing formation in Feng Shui. However, the matter is not over yet. Next, an even more chilling scene unfolded. The man walked under the tree, wrapped the whip around the branch, tied a dead knot, then climbed the tree and stuck his head into the hoop. With a leap she jumped, fell suspended in the tree. Everyone was astonished at the sight. At that moment, a companion wanted to go rescue the person, but Master Lio sternly shouted to stop. If you want to seek death, just go ahead. That person was immediately frightened and stopped in their tracks. I could only watch helplessly as my teammate, Layazi, fell straight onto the tree and swayed in the wind. The tongue of the rat that was hanged is stretched out long, veins bulging on the neck. The eyes rolled back, protruding. The death scene is horrifying, chilling to the bone. At this moment, the exceptionally talented Chuanzi, even more, they saw a scene that others could not. In his eyes, on that crooked tree where the mouse hung itself, clearly there was a terrifying black ghost lying flat. At this moment, Master Lio sighed. Everything in the world has its yin and yang. Feng Shui cannot be excluded either. Many people think that Yin Jiu is just about the Feng Shui of ancestral graves. Actually, it's wrong. The 5 principles of Feng Shui, dragon, snow, sand, water, Zhang, Ding, Yin, Fen, Du, and Yang, Zhai. This all belongs to the Yang secret, the deadly Feng Shui trap that harms lives. The perilous situation of the born and raised dragon. It is the secret of Yin and Feng Shui. It is said that the world's Feng Shui. Bui Shu Long too. There is a dragon vein of great fortune and abundant snow. Naturally, there are eerie and treacherous paths to the yellow springs. So this 18-linked evil trap. The world simply cannot walk. Upon hearing this, Liu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, According to Mr. Yi's perspective, who has set up such a sinister feng shui arrangement here? Is someone trying to stop others from excavating the treasure? But Master Lyo felt that the reality is quite the opposite. This dangerous situation is not meant to stop the tomb raiders. Instead, it was the tomb raiders who had come here earlier who concocted it. Upon hearing this, Liu Qingshan was greatly perplexed. Master Lyo continued to explain. The person who set up this sinister trap may have struck again earlier, but there are often villagers from the mountain village passing through here to conceal from prying eyes. The treasure thief built several fake graves, unexpectedly matched the number 18, leading to the offense of the mountain's dark spirits. A terrifying, sinister situation has emerged. Liu Qingshan sighed after hearing this. These treasure robbers are quite unfortunate. But Master Lyo said, digging graves is inherently an act that harms one's fortune and blessings. If you do something for too long, you're bound to face consequences. What is said without intention can be taken to heart by the listener. This reached the ears of Liu Qingshan and his group of tomb raiders. It sounded particularly jarring. Liu Qingshan's subordinate couldn't help but point a gun at Master Lyo, but was sternly stopped by Liu Qingshan. At this moment, Liu Qingshan raised the dagger again. Standing behind Chuenzi, he jokingly said that the fortune teller predicted his fate. A lifetime without fearing taboos. That's why he became a tomb raider. However, it is indeed true when looking at the facial features. Liu Qingshan's knife didn't stand on the wood. Even the evil spirits fear it. Indeed, I'm well suited for this line of work. But now that we've said so much, the urgent task still relies on Master Lyo to open his insight and search for treasures. Otherwise, at this point, Liu Qingshan glared fiercely at Chuenzi. Master Lyo understood that Liu Qingshan was threatening him again. He reassured Liu Qingshan, I promise that this time I will definitely find the treasure in the mountains. The group then walked around the cemetery and continued forward, attempting to find a new path. I don't know how long we've been walking. Everyone faintly heard a series of ringing sounds. At first, the sound was very faint, but as I went further down, the sound grew louder. Later, the sound of the bell rang, like a grand jury of red. Liu Qingshan cursed softly. Detective girl's endless adventures. Then everyone passed through a dense thicket of low shrubs. In the distance, there was a grove of ginkgo trees. Suddenly, 4 thick golden pillars with yellow lights emerged in a strange manner. 4 golden pillars strangely appeared in a primeval forest. The tomb raider Liu Qingshan saw this. He stepped forward and knocked, biting down suddenly. It turns out this pillar is indeed made of pure gold. This pillar's volume likely weighs several thousand pounds. Liu Qingshan laughed heartily at the sky. Now I'm going to get rich. Master Lyo agreed in response. These 4 golden pillars are enough for Liu Qingshan to live a life of luxury. So the treasure hunt should come to an end now, right? At this moment, Master Lyo was surrounded by a group led by Liu Qingshan, forcing to help find the treasure. Nature wants to end this journey sooner. But behind him, Luoki suddenly spoke up. The first one on these 4 pillars is to ward off evil. Erdis Tianlu. All are enraged divine beasts. Mr. Lyo must know better. Master Lyo stated. He certainly knows. But what does this really prove? Yuo Kai immediately responded. This indicates that the 4 golden pillars are all taken from anger. In a word, perhaps the treasure is right in front of us. Liu Qingshan was taken aback by these words. Just realized. Praise for Yuo Kiguo's insight. Otherwise, he almost wanted to turn back home. Officer Wu looked down on Luo Kai's behavior. Yang scolded Luo Kai fiercely, calling him a natural-born scoundrel who could never change his ways. Such shameless behavior! Aren't you afraid of retribution? But Luo Kai didn't care at all. In his view, retribution is merely for the weak. It's just a boring excuse to deceive oneself. He won't believe this. Master Liu asked Liu Qingshan, "Are you still not going to stop? Do we have to keep searching for the treasure?" Liu Qingshan and Luo Kai both expressed that this is only natural. So, Master Liu led the way again. Little did they know after walking half the day. After wandering around, we returned to these four golden pillars. Liu Qingshan frowned slightly, asking Master Liu why he is leading them in circles. Master Liu responded, "It's not him leading everyone in circles, but something is leading everyone in circles." Master Liu walked over to Jinju while speaking, then tapped twice with his hand. "Press your ear tightly against the golden pillar and listen carefully." Yuo Kai and Liu Qingshan were about to go up and ask. Master Liu turned around and said, "These pillars are all hollow." Liu Qingshan was greatly shocked upon hearing this. "It's actually empty." But Yuo Kai remained unmoved. Master Liu had anticipated these words long ago. If it were not for the hollow thing, how could such a loud sound be made? Master Liu nodded. "Admit that Luo Kai is indeed a smart person. Thought of this even earlier than him. However, there is one thing that Luo Kai might not have anticipated. Within these golden pillars lies a universe. Each pillar contains sound-absorbing material. But what exactly is it? Then it remains unknown. It must be opened to find out." Liu Qingshan immediately rolled up his sleeves upon hearing this. "I think there might be treasures inside the golden pillar." But Luo Kai was worried. "Perhaps there are terrifying monsters hidden inside." At this moment, suddenly Chuenzi saw a figure with unkempt hair appear on the ground. "You can look up," but found that there were no other people. At the moment, no one noticed Chuenzi's anxiety. Liu Shifu and Liu Qingshan, the three riders, were discussing how to open the four golden pillars. Because this formation cannot be broken, they may never be able to leave this area. There is a mechanism in Feng Shui called the maze tomb. Once tomb raiders enter the tomb, immediately distributed to the northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. Even with a compass, it's of no use. Right now, Master Liu and his team were searching for treasure in the forest. Suddenly, on a white jade platform in the woods, four golden pillars are erected. However, strange things happened next. No matter how far they go, in the end, we will all return here again. Master Liu knows. They have encountered a ghostly barrier, but it was completely different from anything encountered before. Previously, I encountered people who were lost and going in circles. Yet this time, they could clearly see the mountain path beneath their feet, and they all form a straight line, but ultimately turned back again. If this situation is not resolved, perhaps we can only circle around this golden pillar. However, to break this situation, we must open these four hollow golden pillars. But right now, they don't have a cutting machine. There's no way to open the four intact pillars. Yuo Kai felt that the traps and hidden weapons were not simple things. Acting recklessly will definitely involve risks. Master Liu took a look around. Discover the arrangement of these four pillars. It is the four corners northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast, and the four cardinal directions of southeast, southwest, northeast, and northwest. If viewed from the perspective of the 8 trigrams directions, it just corresponds to the four figures of Kunkai and Zhengzun. Liu Qingshan is a rough man. I can't understand these, even if it corresponds to the four directions. What else can it explain? Aren't they just four pillars stuck in the forest?" Master Lyo picked up the shackles on the pillar and explained. If understood as the 8 directions of the world, he truly couldn't understand. Why are there these 4 pillars here? But if viewed from the perspective of the 8 trigrams, it can be fully understood. Speak. Lyo Shifu then held the 5 thunder zombie staff in his hand. Thrown into the air, the corpse-stopping staff suddenly floated in the air. Yi Shangguan. Master Lyo flipped his hand, turning the clouds. Jing Tinkong manipulated the shackles on the pillar. The fists suddenly turned back fiercely. Shut out loud. It tangled. The shackles on the pillar flew towards the center of the jade platform, tightly gripping the copper rod suspended in mid-air. Liu Qingshan took a look, thinking that Master Lyo's skills are truly remarkable. You really have to be careful and vigilant. Master Lyo raised his hand. The copper rod then soared upward. Pull the chain. This pull raised all 4 pillars as well. Suddenly, the base of the pillar began to move. As the pillar rises, the 4 rectangular bases also rose from the ground. Everyone was left speechless, astonished beyond words. At this moment, a puff of smoke burst from the small hole at the bottom of the pedestal. A stone door on one side of the rectangular prism opened downward. Suddenly, a person with flowing white hair appeared. At that moment, Chuenzi couldn't help but shout, "It's them!" The string was just on the surface of the Bayou platform. I saw these 4 figures with unkempt hair. I didn't expect that. They are actually hidden beneath the bases of these 4 pillars. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on these 4 terrifying figures. 5 assault rifles were aimed directly at them. Liu Qingshan was even more anxious. "What the hell is this monster?" Master Lyo told him. "This is not a monster, but 4 puppets." Master Lyo's judgment. They encountered the legendary labyrinth and angered it. Have you heard of the maze of fury in Feng Shui mechanisms? This kind of mechanism is not just about mesmerizing people with the same room, but instead a white-clothed puppet was laid in the tomb. This influences people's consciousness and behavior, making people run in circles. We'll never be able to walk out. Right now, Master Lyo and his group encountered this kind of mechanism. To unlock this mechanism, Master Lyo found the 4 white-clothed puppets hidden within the mechanism. At that moment, the 4 puppets turned around to face the crowd. They slowly extended their pale right hand, point to the pillar across. A closed loop was formed with hands and tails connected. Facing this bizarre Feng Shui situation, Rocky wanted to know, since Master Lyo knows that the puppet is evil, how should we break the deadlock next? Master Lyo used a copper rod to prop it up behind the puppet and told Rocky, "The white-clothed puppet is not a Feng Shui arrangement, but rather the art of mechanisms. As long as it burns with a fire, there's nothing else going on. Otherwise, the mechanism will keep resetting." Finished speaking, Master Lyo gently waved his bronze staff. The white-clad puppet immediately bent down and fell to the ground. Then it bounced back again. Seeing this, Chuenzi suddenly realized. Previously, he saw the white-faced figure with Rocky in the woods. It should be this thing. So when the flying knife shot him down to the ground, it will automatically pop up. At that time, they thought the pale face had vanished into thin air and then reappeared. Rocky chimed in as well. It really does sound similar. Master Lyo also said this is very likely. What if puppets are set up there as well? There is only one reason. That leads them down the path to death, just like the treasure hunter who was brutally killed before. In fact, if it weren't for the strings. At that moment, I accidentally tripped and triggered the mechanism. They are very likely in great danger now. Hearing Uncle Lio's words, everyone's face involuntarily changed color. The hidden crisis in Zungarden Forest is far more terrifying than they imagined. Perhaps noticing the fear on everyone's faces, Uncle Lio continued to comfort. Everyone doesn't need to be too anxious. The greater the danger, the more it proves. The possibility of treasure hidden here is very high. Moreover, a puppet is a spirit that possesses a wooden figure. This is Western magic. The movable golden pillar belongs to the Western machine expansion, although it contains the hidden directions of the Babwa. But this is enough to prove. The one who set up the mechanism is definitely a Russian. This completely aligns with the information we received. Liu Qingshan laughed heartily at that. He said to Master Lio, "Since it's confirmed that there is treasure here, hurry up and dig out the treasure. This red treasure. He can also return to farming, going home to live a carefree life." Uncle Lio carefully examined the compass. After determining the direction, I informed everyone. They must first burn these white-clothed puppets with fire. Otherwise, you will never escape the direction of their fingers. Liu Qingshan urged Master Lio to speak directly about what to do. They come to do the dirty and heavy work. But Master Lio said it wasn't necessary. It's just a small effort. Master Lio snapped his fingers. A burst of flame suddenly erupted from the longan on the copper stick. The flames quickly spread along the iron chains to the 4 golden pillars. Seeing this scene, Liu Qingshan was genuinely startled. I think this Master Lio is indeed extraordinary. Even taking hostages with a string of people probably wouldn't hold him back. Let's seize the moment now. Just thinking. Liu Qingshan's gun instinctively aimed at Master Lio. Master Lio, watching the flames, also noticed Liu Qingshan's actions. But he did not react at all, but pretended as if nothing had happened. Continue to look at those burning puppets. The issue has been resolved. Master Lio continued to lead them forward. Before leaving, Master Lio beckoned with his finger. The copper rod suspended in mid-air immediately began to open the cuffs. In an instant, it flew back into Master Lio's hand. Looking at Master Lio's extraordinary abilities, Liu Qingshan and Rocky were a bit worried. But in the end, he restrained his urge to kill. Forget it. Let's wait until we get the treasure before we talk. Not long after, the crowd passed through the bushes. Arrived at a streamside, Master Lio discovered a corpse in the bushes. Immediately turned back to remind everyone, there may be zombies in this stream. In the rushing stream, a mental zombie unexpectedly floated in. Right now, Master Lio and his companions, under the coercion of the tomb reader Liu Qingshan, delving deep into the mountains in search of the lost treasure. Yesterday, I just broke a maze tomb mechanism in the forest. But now I encountered a mental zombie. Chuanzi doesn't understand. Why is Uncle Lio so eager to cooperate with Liu Qingshan? Just last night, Uncle Lio actually stayed in the tent all night, discussing the whereabouts of the treasure with Liu Qingshan, with Uncle Lio's personality, even if it is out of necessity. It shouldn't be expressed so enthusiastically. Could it be that Uncle Lio is truly blinded by profit? Have you fallen this far? He Liu Qingshan, this kind of bandit. They would never spit out the meat once it's in their mouth. Even if I find the treasure, I would choose to keep it all for myself. Moreover, 3 of the 5 officers are police officers. Even if Liu Qingshan does not take action now, after obtaining the treasure, they will definitely kill them. If you really killed 3 police officers, they wouldn't care about killing him and Uncle Lio again. Chuenzi really can't understand Uncle Lio. What kind of medicine is really sold in the gourd? The next morning, the group continued their journey. Master Lio is still leading the way. Walking along, a small creek suddenly appeared ahead, and on the opposite shore there was actually a dead black bear. Master Lio immediately turned around to remind everyone there might be zombies in this stream. In Master Lio's view, this stream flows in a very strange direction. It's not about high flow and low descent, but came rumbling from afar, directly into a cave at the foot of the mountain. And what other wonders lie within this cave, it is also unknown. Just when everyone was worried, how should we cross this mountain stream? Liu Qingshan suddenly realized something is floating upstream in the creek. Master Lio turned his head to look. Sure enough, I saw a shining bald head, gently glimmering along the stream, rapidly drifting towards them. After seeing the string, immediately recognized this thing. Golden Buddy Zombie. That thing is a zombie. Liu Qingshan immediately grabbed the gun. Aim at the zombie in the water from a distance. A single gunshot echoed. The bullet flies toward the zombie. Hit the opponent right in the forehead. In an instant, there was a loud bang. The bullet was actually deflected and flew out. The zombie quickly sank into the water. Liu Qingshan thought the zombie had sunk to the bottom of the water, will not come up again. But the next second, the zombie opened its blood-filled mouth wide, once again resurfacing. Everyone was astonished at the sight. At this moment, Liu Qingshan was relatively calm. The zombies were getting closer. Immediately ordered his subordinates to bring grenades. The commander instructed everyone to disperse immediately. Form the battle formation, in case a zombie picks someone up and hurts them. Master Lio stood beside, holding the Five Thunder Array staff. Be ready to deal with the water-based golden body zombie at any moment. However, unexpectedly, the zombie floated up and down in the water without climbing ashore. It just flowed along with the water into the cave, suddenly vanished. Now, Liu Qingshan felt even more anxious. He immediately asked Master Lio, still shaken, "Can you see the hidden secrets within?" Master Lio told him, "Not everything has a hidden meaning. Of course, it could also be that his knowledge and cultivation are insufficient. I can't see this one." At that moment, Oogi told Liu Qingshan, "If you want to obtain the treasure, we must get through this little play." Liu Qingshan thought for a moment, suddenly turned and aimed the gun at the three police officers. Plan to let them try diving first. A golden-bodied zombie suddenly appeared in the stream. The tomb raider Liu Qingshan knew well the terror of the golden body zombie. The underwater exploration has begun. Officer Wu was furious. Severely scold Liu Qingshan. "Stop talking nonsense. Go ahead and shoot me dead. Do you want me to give you a perm?" "No way." Liu Qingshan saw Officer Wu refusing to yield even to death, then stepped forward and grabbed Guo Yang's hair, pulled the knife against his throat. Officer Wu saw Liu Qingshan trying to deal with him at the same time. Lai Ma shouted loudly for him to stop, but Liu Qingshan slashed Guo Yang's face with a knife. Guo Yang's face was instantly covered in blood as he screamed, and Liu Qingshan cruelly laughed. "Dare not to listen to my words. Today I will do it right in front of you all. Cut this brat to pieces. One just isn't enough. I will keep going until there are no living people left." Facing such brutal and inhuman tomb raiders, Officer Wu was so angry he was almost laughing with rage. But there was nothing to be done. After a moment of contemplation, he agreed to Liu Qingshan. Liu Qingshan must first release the person. He went into the water to explore the path, but he is the only one who will go into the water. Even if I die, it can only be him. Liu Qingshan, with blood on his face, answered him. No problem. Wish you good luck. He then pushed open the door to Guo Yang's house. Indicate to the subordinates to take him down and free Officer Wu. Then he ordered his men to bring the climbing rope. Officer Wu needs to hold this climbing rope. Secure it on the other side of the river. All right, leave them a route. Officer Wu rubbed his wrist after being untied. Was soon caught by Liu Qingshan's subordinate, Zhao Zheng. He hit my back with the butt of the gun. Tell him not to be so wishy-washy. Hurry and get into the water. Officer Wu remained silent. He took the rope and tied one end to the tree. The other side is carried on the back. Silently, I walked towards the stream. Master needs to remind Officer Wu. Never act on impulse. Once they noticed something was off in the water, just hurry back to the shore. Officer Wu claims he knows his limits. He immediately stepped into the water and walked towards the opposite shore. Zhao Zheng also carried a gun and followed Officer Wu, watching his every move. Two people, one in front and one behind, walking slowly forward in the water. At this moment, Officer Wu suddenly noticed something in the water beneath his feet. It was stabbed with a sharp blade. He reacted quickly, immediately pointed ahead and shouted, "There are zombies." Zhao Zheng immediately looked in the direction pointed by Officer Wu. Suddenly, a sharp pain surged through the abdomen. I didn't expect to be delayed that much. His stomach was unexpectedly stabbed through by Officer Wu from behind. And in that moment, the gun fired. Rocky strikes with lightning speed. A gun barrel is dragged towards the sky. The bullet skimmed across the water's surface. Fortunately, Officer Wu was not hit. Liu Qingshan looked at Liu Oki. I don't understand what he wants to do. But Rocky said, it's easy to kill him. But you are a leader. You must not act impulsively. While speaking, Rocky discovered the end of the stream. The golden corpse zombie has reappeared. He floated up and down, rushing towards Officer Wu. In this stream of the forest, suddenly a golden-skinned zombie emerged fiercely. A fierce wave surged toward Officer Wu in the water. The person on the shore urged Officer Wu to come up quickly, but Officer Wu seemed to turn a deaf ear. It's about facing the zombies head on. At this moment, he suddenly remembered there was a sword on the corpse beside him. He quickly grabbed the corpse that was about to float away. With the sword in hand, block in front, only the golden figure drew closer. Officer Wu raised the sword. With a loud shout, "Come and smash it!" A sword slashed down abruptly the head of the golden statue. In an instant, with a sudden sound, the metallic impact produced a dazzling spray of sparks. The sword was instantly knocked away several meters. Officer Wu's right hand burst and bled profusely from the impact. But the golden corpse floated past Officer Wu without stopping. Liu Qingshan and Liu Okai were both very surprised. This so-called golden body zombie, is it just a life-sized golden statue? I just don't know why I ended up in this stream, flowing along with the rapids day in and day out, drifting in this circular river channel. But the bear that had been gutted earlier, it should just be because a sharp diamond sword is stuck in the river. The bear just happened to swim past the sword's tip. This is when the belly was finally cut open. So there are no golden body zombies in this stream at all. At this moment, Officer Wu pulled out the sword that was stuck in the water, returned to the shore. As soon as they landed, Liu Qingshan reached out for Officer Wu to hand over the sword. Officer Wu tossed it away. Liu Qingshan caught it with one hand. At this moment, he did not blame Officer Wu for killing his subordinate, just coldly reminding Officer Wu, human patience is limited. Don't always try to provoke me. This is not good for you." He then looked at the great sword in his hand. Liu Qingshan is knowledgeable and well informed. At a glance he recognized it as a Persian sword, also known as the Great Stone Sword. If the English sword hilt is made of gold, inlaid with gemstones, that is an item used by the Persian royal family. Invaluable. But this sword is also quite good. After speaking, he gestured a few times in the air. Later, Liu Qingshan ordered his subordinates to salvage the golden statue from the water. He just tapped twice with his hand. The statue emitted a thudding sound. It turns out that the golden figure is actually empty. No wonder it can float in the water. Immediately afterwards, Liu Qingshan ordered his men to bury the golden figure and make the markings. It's convenient to dig it out and take it with us on the way back to the city. Now I've harvested quite a few treasures." Liu Qingshan felt that the legendary treasure of Wanbei village seems to be just ahead of them. 10 minutes later, a group of people waded through the stream and continued onward. Not long after, they then saw 4 tall ancient dragon pines. This is also the most distinctive symbol of Wanbei village. Find these trees. The treasure is just within sight. Liu Qingshan nodded repeatedly with satisfaction. He claimed it was the best decision he ever made in his life. It's just to ask Master Liu to be his long-eyed gentleman. If it weren't for Master Liu's strong support along the way, they can never find Wanbei village. But Master Liu said he was too happy too soon. Wanbei village is an underground demon city. In ancient times, the dragon pine absorbed the essence of the sun and moon, gather the spirit energy of all things. There is a tree hollow radiating an eerie energy. Perhaps there really are monsters inside. Upon hearing the words monster and demon, everyone felt a bit timid. Liu Qingshan peeked into the hollow of the tree. He randomly snapped a glow stick and threw it down. Borrowing the faint green light, he saw dozens of animal skeletons at the bottom of the cave. For safety's sake, Liu Qingshan ordered his men to bring Shan Hong over. Shan Hong is a pit bull that Liu Qingshan specifically brought. Very bold, fierce temperament. Liu Qingshan planned to put it down first to scout the path. Do you know, the soul and life are actually 2 different things. A person has 3 souls and 7 spirits. Animals possess only 1 soul and 3 spirits. Even if the soul is gone, humans or animals can still continue to live. It would just be like living as a walking corpse. Right now, the dog of the tomb raider Liu Qingshan is just like this. To explore the treasure in the tree hollow, fearing that there might be monsters hidden in the cave, Liu Qingshan placed his beloved dog, Shan Hong, into the tree hole. After the mountain red falls, walking deeper into the darkness. Moments later, a rapid barking sound came from the hole. The rope quickly tightened. Shan Hong became extremely violent. It seems that an attack could unfold at any moment. Liu Qingshan cursed repeatedly at the sight. Damn it, this cave is indeed not peaceful. Luckily, I didn't rush in. Then he called his subordinates to pull the rope together. We need to pull a Shan Hong. But Shan Hong is a pit bull. The power of strength. A couple of people can't possibly make a difference. In the end, everyone joined forces. Just pulled back the constantly advancing mountain red a little. The power of the sudden mountain red vanished. Everyone was caught off guard. Fell in a clumsy manner. Fallen Liu Qingshan noticed that Shan Hong no longer rushed forward, so they immediately pulled him up. I thought Shan Hong had met with an accident in the cave, but when she pulled him up, she found that he had no injuries at all, and his eyes were wide open, round as saucers, standing dazed with his tongue out. He was completely different from his usual lively self. Liu Qingxin didn't know what was wrong with Shan Hong. You must be scared silly. So he decided to give Shan Hong a piece of jerky first. Wake up. But even if the jerky was placed in front of Shan Hong remained completely still. Master Liu stepped forward and carefully lifted the dog's eyelid to take a closer look. Immediately tell Liu Qingxin, your dog's soul is no longer in him. Liu Qingxin was a bit surprised after hearing that. But he can still live even when his soul is not in his body. Master Liu explained to him the difference between soul and life. Like this dog, completely numb all over. The eyes remain perfectly still, embodying beauty. Liu Qingxin felt a bit nervous. So it seems there is indeed something strange in the tree hollow. Master Liu told him, there are many reasons for losing one's soul, but the most common ones are simply two types. First, it was scared. The soul is unsettled. Temporarily leave the body. The soul can be retrieved through the soul calling technique. The second is lured by the mist. Soul separates from the body. This is quite dangerous. Only by stealing souls can it be done. What if the soul snatcher has great magical power? If you fail to seize the soul, you might get hurt instead. Liu Qingxin couldn't help but ask, according to Master Liu's experience, is this dog missing its soul or has it been enchanted? Uncle Liu looked at the tree hole and replied, no matter the reason now. There must be something strange in this tree hollow. This is what everyone has witnessed with their own eyes. Even so, do you still insist on entering the cave? Liu Qingxin immediately replied, of course, we have to go in. A great fortune is right before our eyes. If we stop at this moment, the brothers won't agree either. At this point, Liu Qingxin suddenly revealed a mischievous smile. And this time, Mr. Liu, you are personally taking charge. I believe you can handle it. After saying this, he immediately ordered his subordinates to bring ropes. We need to lower Master Liu. Chuanzi was taken aback in shock. But Master Liu seems to already know. Liu Qingxin would pull a stunt like this. He said with a calm smile, aren't you afraid of looking up to me? Liu Qingxin smiled faintly. Then I can only guarantee your big nephew's safety is assured. This sentence is obviously using a stick to threaten Master Liu. But Master Liu simply responded, you don't need to worry about my safety here, because I want to take him down with me. Liu Qingxin heard these words. Immediately made him not even think about it. But Master Liu insisted nonetheless. If they don't let Chuanzi go down with him, Liu Qingxin won't get a single penny from it either. Angry Liu Qingxin immediately raised his gun at Master Liu. Go ahead, say that again. But Master Liu remained unmoved. A gun is only meant to scare ordinary people. Using this to deal with Master Liu is really too low level. Liu Qingxin knew that Master Liu's magical powers were formidable, but there can't possibly be a body that fears no bullets, right? Master Liu reiterated once again, if you want the treasure in the cave, quickly put the gun away. Otherwise, I promise you clouds will part. Looking at Master Liu's resolute gaze, Liu Qingxin ultimately conceded. I admit I'm a rough person. Tell Master Liu not to take it to heart. He immediately ordered his subordinate to bring some rope. Let Master Liu and Chuanzi go down the hole together. In the pitch-black cave, something suddenly licked the boy's neck. The boy instinctively turned his head, but he was stopped by Master Liu beside him, in search of the lost treasure. Thief Liu Qingxin actually forced Master Liu and the accomplice, descending into the eerie tree hollow to explore. As soon as I landed, Master Liu struck the match. lit the torch. The moment the torch ignites, the ground was suddenly filled with white bones. Chuenzi looked back. Someone is peering into the tree hollow. At this moment, Chuenzi finally had the chance to be alone with Master Liao. He eagerly asked Master Liao, "Master, do you really believe that ruthless Liu Qingshan? After finding the treasure, can they easily let us go?" Little did they know, Master Liao scoffed. "Liu Qingshan, he is just a dead man now. Must listen to the words dead person." Chuenzi felt a bit scared. After all, they are now in complete darkness. At the same time, he couldn't understand Master Liao. "Why are you so confident? Given the current situation, even though two of the grave robbers have already died." But the remaining four still held heavy firepower. "With just our unarmed six-member team, they are no match for them at all." Master Liao told Chuenzi, "He has seen countless schemes that ruin people in the Jianghu. Liu Qingshan is just a fool compared to those people." Moreover, there was a fierce wolf lurking beside him. Evil wolf? Who is the evil wolf? Chuenzi didn't understand what Master Liao meant by this. But Master Liao reminded him to keep going. "If you linger in the cave too long, Officer Wu and the others are likely to be in danger." So the two continued forward with their torches. Walking along the way, from time to time, Chuenzi heard the crisp sound of bones cracking beneath his feet. At that moment, Chuenzi suddenly felt a sticky sensation in his neck. It felt as if something warm and damp had licked it. At the moment of turning back, Uncle Lio suddenly patted his shoulder. "Tell him not to move," he told Chuenzi. "The thing that previously absorbed the soul of that fighting dog. Right now, it's right behind." Uncle Lio then planted the torch he held in the clearing. Then they hid behind a giant rock with the strings. At this moment, the cave is unusually quiet. Only the torches on the ground are still playing the pipa. Suddenly, Chuenzi discovered on top of the rock wall. Suddenly, a sharp, black, three-fingered claw appeared. Under the glow of the flames, a giant red bat was hanging upside down at the bottom of the cave. The bat's face is not very clear. Only a sharp, protruding long nose was visible. Then he swept over the torch, gradually disappeared into the darkness. Chuenzi was so scared that his hair stood on end. What kind of monster is Uncle Lio talking about? But as soon as he turned around, Uncle Lio was already sweating profusely. Pale complexion. What might be hiding in the cave is a black ram. But I never expected it to be something like this. Chuenzi is curious. "Is this thing really that scary?" Uncle Lio sighed and said, "Chuenzi has been with him for so long. I've seen quite a few of his tricks. So you might think he's really impressive. But in this world, there is always a higher mountain beyond the mountain. You have the Hare Mountain path. He has a 1,000-year-old demon. The tiger talisman may not be considered a 1,000-year-old demon, but a lifespan of several hundred years is always there. If bats could live for hundreds of years, it's a very terrifying monster. If you had looked back just now, he will suck the bubbles from your throat with his mouth. With Uncle Lio's abilities, it may not be possible to retrieve the bubbles from this tiger talisman. So at that time, the string would die from asphyxiation." Hearing the words suffocation, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Immediately after that, Uncle Lio looked around and said to the explorer, "This tiger talisman is the king of the cave. It must be the monster sent by the Russians to wreak havoc on Wangbei village, because the tiger talisman is a thick-furred bat that grows in the cold regions of the Far East." Upon hearing this, Chuenzi believes in the legendary Russian treasure. It must be inside this tree hollow. But right now, this tiger talisman cannot be removed. They will never be able to obtain the treasure. Chuanzi doesn't understand. Is there really no way to deal with this tiger talisman? Uncle Lio replied, there is a way, but there's not much hope. The lair of the tiger talisman may be where the treasure is located. Uncle Lio continued to walk forward with them. At this moment, Uncle Lio didn't dare to use the torch anymore, so he snapped two glow sticks, walking deeper into the subtle green light. However, the two had not gone far. A sinister face suddenly appeared before their eyes. Be very careful of this graveyard chrysanthemum. Any terrain that is elevated above the surrounding land. In Feng Shui, it is all seen as graveyard chrysanthemums, the easiest to attract malevolent spirits. So once you see it, be sure to avoid it. Right now, Chuanzi and Uncle Lio ventured deep into the cave in search of treasure. It just so happened to encounter this kind of terrain. Just speaking. Suddenly, a sinister white face appeared before me. Chuanzi and Uncle Lio were startled. When the two of them wake up and carefully observe, it was only then that I realized this person appeared to be of Caucasian descent. Uncle Lio asserted, this person's soul has already been drawn away by that tiger talisman. Just by looking at his pale pupils, one can't tell. And this guy should be one of the Russian treasure hunters who arrived first. Uncle Lio took the string and continued on the road. Soon they were back on the dirt slope. 4 Russians armed with handheld weapons were discovered. They are just like the person before. All have lost their souls. Only one breath remains. And moreover, their weapons are much more advanced than those of Liu Qingshan's fire tomb raiders. Even rocket launchers are included. However, it is this group of heavily armored soldiers. But they all followed the path of the tiger talisman. This shows the old monster's ability to harm others. Speaking of which, Uncle Lio suddenly covered Chuanzi's mouth. He seemed to have heard some noise. So they shone a glow stick around. This photo unexpectedly reveals the soul-stealing tiger talisman they just talked about. At this moment, it is right before our eyes. Suddenly, the fire talisman spread its wings wide. The huge fire talisman face was facing Uncle Lio, but Uncle Lio still tried hard to hold his breath. Stay calm, because once in a panic, it is very likely that the fire talisman will absorb the soul. At this moment, Huofu tightly closed his eyes, suddenly opened wide. Those terrifying eyes glowed green under the light of the glow stick. Uncle Lio was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Dare not make any further moves. The two locked eyes, motionless. At this moment, suddenly a shout from Liu Qingshan came from the cave entrance. Mr. Lio, where are you? We have already entered the cave. Lao Huofu immediately sneered upon hearing the noise. And Liu Qingshan shouted again, Mr. Lio, did you hear that? At that moment there was a whoosh. A strong wind blew towards me. Only the old fire talisman flapped its wings, suddenly flew towards the cave entrance. Uncle Lio sighed. This time, Liu Qingshan is finished. At this moment, Uncle Lio's glow stick was getting dimmer. Until the end, it slowly extinguished. He asked if there are any glow sticks left. Chuanzi patted his pocket. I found that everything was used up. Uncle Lio then took out a swallow made from a folded piece of paper. Currently, Lao Huofu is still in the cave. He is very sensitive to thermal energy, so they can't use a lighter for illumination. Can only use this. Finished speaking. Uncle Lio silently recited the incantation. The paper swallow in hand began to emit light. Uncle Lio raised his hand. The swallow immediately flew out of the palm and darted forward. Uncle Lio hurriedly caught up with Chuenzi. Because this paper swallow won't last long either. The other side. Liu Qingshan was still searching for Master Lio in the cave. Lio Fan, are you dead? They're out here right now. Speaking of which, Liu Qingshan heard a noise behind him. I turned around and was surprised to see a giant old fire talisman. It lunged at me with its gaping maw. In an instant, Liu Qingshan was suddenly knocked down by the fire talisman. The subordinate next to him is strong, scared to the point of trembling legs. Raise the rifle and unleash all firepower. The man lights the candle. They discovered that the cave was filled with gold, silver, and jewels. Looking up, in front of them stood a gigantic white skeletal hand, just now, to search for the treasure in the cave, and avoid the old fire talisman that devours souls. Master Lio casts a spell using glowing paper swallows, leading them through the pitch-black cave. But the paper swallow cannot hold on for long. Master Lio followed Yan Zai with a string of firecrackers. Arriving deep in the cave, in the end, the paper swallow's magic has run out. Fading fall, the cave became pitch black again. The string couldn't see the road ahead, bumped into Master Lio's back. At this moment, Master Lio looked up and sighed. There are really incredible things in this cave. But Chuenzi couldn't see anything. He was very curious about what Uncle Lio had actually seen. So Uncle Lio struck the match. A square artificial blue stone platform. On the stone platform there lay a gigantic human skeleton. Chuenzi couldn't help but sigh. What a huge skeleton! This height should be over 3 meters. It's truly incredible. Are there really such giant beings in this world? He asked Uncle Lio. Is this really human bone? It's still a forged statue. Uncle Lio replied. There is the 1,000-handed Guanyin, 100-handed demon mother. But he had never heard of such a person existing in the world. Perhaps this is a kind of plaster statue. Finished speaking, he carefully walked towards the huge human skeleton, reaching out to touch. Dragon blood and rotting flesh hung on these white bones. Chuenzi covered his mouth and nose, gagging from the stench of the decomposing body. Master Lio's judgment, this must be a real human bone. But those hands that grew out from behind, it seems that it is not innate, but rather fixed to the bones after death. Chuenzi suddenly realized. It seems there is something on these skeletons. Upon closer inspection, at the junction of the giant skeleton and the white hand, there are actually marks left by nails. This is exactly in line with Uncle Lio's earlier speculation. Chuenzi couldn't help but sigh. Even if these hands are fake, the ocean bones are indeed real. This person is at least 4 meters tall. It's simply incredible. Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, in a section of the Atlantic Ocean basin, once a remarkably intact giant skeleton was unearthed. This person's overall height exceeds 3 meters. It was discovered during the bone density test. Hagu's age does not exceed 15 years old. This means it still has the potential to grow. This is not a fabricated story. Gazing at the giant corpse before me, Chuenzi felt a bit confused. Is it possible that giants really existed in this world? Uncle Lio told Chuenzi with deep meaning. This world is not as simple as you think. At that moment, suddenly someone rushed up from behind. Uncle Lio and Chuenzi turned around to take a look. It turns out to be the bruised Liu Qingshan and Rocky. Liu Qingshan was surprised to see the place filled with gold, silver, and jewels. Lai Ma looked up to the sky and laughed heartily. Grab a handful of treasure and shout, "Now I'm going to get rich." suddenly raised the gun to aim at Liu Fan and Chu and Zai. Want to kill and silence. Liu Fan, you're not that great either. So what if you can cast spells? I can easily take you down too, as long as we take these treasures out. Laozi is the world's richest person. Before the words fell silent, suddenly Rocky pressed a gun against Liu Qingshan's temple. Liu Qingshan was terrified and drenched in cold sweat. Damn, Rocky, are you trying to engage in a double cross? Can you handle so many treasures? Chuenzi was very surprised upon seeing this. They actually started in fighting, but Uncle Lio remained calm beside him. It seems like they knew in advance that Rocky would do this. At this moment, Liu Qingshan was trembling with fear, afraid that Rocky would shoot. But Rocky did not rush to shoot him dead, but instead he asked, Liu Qingshan, do you still remember Luo Heichao? The dark cave was unexpectedly filled with rare treasures. The tomb, Raider Liu Qingshan faced countless hardships and dangers. It is precisely to search for these treasures. Now that the treasure is in hand, he planned to kill to silence them. He shot Master Liao, who was guiding him. Who would have thought that in the next moment his companion Rocky unexpectedly pressed a gun to the back of his head? Liu Qingshan thought Rocky wanted to take the treasure for himself through underhanded means. Starting materials, Rocky mentioned a name that shocked Liu Qingshan. That is Luo Haitide. Luo Heichao is Rocky's grandfather. Upon hearing this, Liu Qingshan could hardly believe it. It turns out that all of this is a revenge scheme by Rocky's subordinates. Rocky told him to behave, dropped the gun on the ground. Liu Qingshan listened and obeyed, but still holding on to a glimmer of hope. After all these years, he has been living under an assumed name. He rolled his eyes and asked Rocky, even though Rocky's grandfather is Luo Heichao, what does this have to do with him? But Rocky won't fall for that. Liujia Mountain, at this point, still pretending to be confused. Hearing Rocky actually shout out his real name, Liu Jiashan was suddenly taken aback. Rocky told him, if I don't understand your background, do you think I would waste so much time on you? To be honest with you, Wang Jin told me about your actions. At the same time, he was the one who raised me. Liu Qingshan remembers. Back then, they had already killed Wang Jin. How could this be? But in reality, Wang Jin's life is quite lucky. At that time, I was saved by someone. Liu Qingshan saw that Luo Kai's killing intent had vanished. So she turned to Master Liao for help. Mr. Liao, you were brought here because of Rocky's idea. It was Rocky who said he would kill you to silence you after it was done. As long as we take down Rocky, the treasure here is split between the two of us. But Master Liao remained unmoved, just watching him quietly. At this moment, Luo Kai let out a cold laugh, cursing Liu Qingshan for his wickedness. A single shot is not enough to quell the hatred. That's why he won't play this hand. Bring Liu Jiashan here. Took his dog's life at the last moment of success. Let him die with his eyes wide open to resolve Rocky's resentment. Liu Jiashan trembled all over. Please spare the dog's life, Rocky, as long as he can be given a chance to live. All the treasures in this cave belong to Luo Kai, but Rocky's murderous intent remained unchanged. You should keep those words to tell Yama. After speaking about Rocky, he prepared to pull the trigger. Who would have thought? Liu Jiashan immediately let out a roar like that of a slaughtered pig. Don't shoot yet. I was just hired and ended up harming old Master Luo. But the real mastermind is someone else. If you kill me, you will never know who this killer is. Upon hearing this, Rocky suppressed his urge to kill. Inquire about who the mastermind really is. Liugia Mountain's promise, as long as Rocky hands him over to the police. He will pull out all the insider information and connections. Give old Master Hale Yuo a fair treatment. He reassured Rocky. This mastermind not only destroyed old Master Yuo, it also ruined his entire life in the Liu family. If it weren't for this person, Liudia Mountain might still be able to live well as a farmer, living a stable life. Anything is better than this life of crime. For this bastard, Liu Jia-shan has long wanted to settle scores with him. Rocky mocked him. If you had this awareness, would you still be waiting until now? Liu family Mountain explained. Because this person's strength is extraordinary. With our strength alone, it's impossible to deal with him. Moreover, this person controls the underground antique trade, 60% of the sales volume. Now he is not just a gang leader anymore, but a god with infinite power, high above all. Calliope doesn't care who this person is. Killed his grandfather. Blood must be repaid with blood. Then Rocky pulled a rope out of his pocket. Liudia Mountain was bound with hands behind the back. Master Liu saw this and also walked down the high platform with the. At this moment, Xuanzi finally understood. Uncle Liu had previously mentioned that there were wolves lurking around Liu Qingshan. This evil wolf is actually referring to Rocky. At this moment, Liuopi slightly nodded to Uncle Liu to express his apology, claiming that they have had a hard time these days. Because the Liu family of the mountain is very cunning. People are always by my side. So it's best to lure him to a place like this to take action. Uncle Liu smiles slightly, shows indifference. He was just very curious. What feud do Liu Jiashan and Rocky's grandfather have? This made Rocky set such a huge trap to take revenge on the Liu family. Without waiting for Rocky to respond, Liu Jiashan said with a bitter smile, "Let me say it instead. When the incident happened, Rocky was still a child. Many details remain unknown." He turned and asked Rocky if he could spare a cigarette. This matter has passed for too long. He needs to recall it in his mind. Rocky also wants to know the details of the events from back then. So they lit a torch at Liu Jiashan. In the midst of swirling clouds and exhaled mist, an old story began to unfold from Liu Qingshan's lips. A young man with a hammer in hand. A quiet night where 5 people were killed. The story begins with a flood. The young man is named Liu Jiashan, a farmer from Qingshan village in Majiu County. In 1991, their village was hit by a major flood. Unexpectedly, a tomb from the Eastern Han Dynasty burst forth. It is said that a cavalry general is buried inside the tomb. Soon after, the archaeological team arrived. The team leader is an archaeologist named Luo Heichao. This general's tomb is quite large. Luo Heichao then mobilized the villagers to excavate the ancient tomb. At that time, the Liu family mountain was only around 23 or 24 years old. As soon as I heard there was a salary to be earned, immediately took a few brothers from the family to sign up for the archaeological team. At that time, he didn't think too much about it. It's just to earn a little hard-earned money. After entering the ancient tomb, Liu Jia Mountain saw the remains of animals in the burial site, and the war chariots and soldiers. But what attracts the Liu family the most is still stacked in the tomb are the modeled bronze coins and some old silver jewelry. However, later the Liu family in the mountain would know what is truly valuable in that tomb. Actually, it's those bottles and jars filled with jade plugs stuffed into the 7 orifices of the dead. Liu Jiashan was naturally fond of gambling. I fell deeply into debt. One night, He took advantage of the archaeological team's temporary absence, sneaked into the ancient tomb. I want to trade some things for money. But before he could succeed, Luo Heichao and his assistant entered the ancient tomb. The archaeological team was just cleaning the coffin. Liu Qingshan saw the coffin lid open and hid inside the coffin. Next, Liu Qingshan heard the argument between the two. The assistant wants to take some things out for personal gain, but Luo Heichao disagreed, so the two had a dispute. Later, Luo Heichao said again, "All the artifacts have been taken to the edge. Let the assistant abandon the thought of stealing." At that time, Liu Qingshan was also blinded by thoughts of money. "After escaping the ancient tomb, I found this assistant," Liu Qingshan told the other party. "He can help steal the record book of Luo Heichao." The other party was even more direct. To directly kill Luo Heichao and his 4 students, Liu Qingshan actually wants to. Liu Qingshan was also taken aback upon hearing this. "But then I thought again. Since there is a lot of money to be made, just don't care about so much anymore." That night, Liu Qingshan brought along a few brothers from his clan. Taking advantage of the night, he killed all 5 members of the archaeological team. After 70 events, Liu Qingshan also felt very regretful, recalling the moment before Luo Heichao's death, once advised Liu Jiashan to let go of his student. The gaze and expression of Liu Qingshan are unforgettable to this day. Exactly so. He is unable to sleep through the long night. At this thought, he couldn't help but sigh. Luo Heichao is a good person, but good people don't get good returns. Upon hearing this, Rocky was absolutely furious. Lai Ma raised his gun, aiming at Liu Jiashan. "I want to kill you. Yuo Kai is the grandson of Luo Haikeo. Years have passed in the blink of an eye. Liu Jiashan has become the leader of a group of tomb raiders. To avenge my grandfather, Rocky is undercover next to Liu Qingshan. Carefully plan and set up a grand scheme. Deliberately led Liu Jiashan to this treasure cave. It's just to kill him with my own hands." At this moment, Rocky's finger trembled incessantly on the trigger. In the end, reason triumphed over anger. To find the true mastermind behind it all, he plans to hand over Liu family mountain to the police for handling. Liu Jiashan couldn't help but sigh. This is retribution. Once there was a fortune teller. Let him change his name to Liu Qingshan. This way you could live 10 more years. I didn't expect that even with these 10 extra years. It won't be long. Master Liu said that his retribution has come late enough. What else is unsatisfactory? Liu Qingshan thought about it as well. He has eaten all the delicious food in his lifetime. Beautiful women have also slept around. Even if they execute him tomorrow, it's enough to break even. He turned to Rocky and said, "Brother, you can rest assured. I will do my best to cooperate with the police in the capture. The true culprit behind the old man's murder. It's a way to make up for the harm caused to your family." Afterwards, Master Liu and the others pressed on, returning along the original path to Liu family mountain. However, unexpectedly, the previous old fire talisman. They were actually killed by the Liu family from Liu Mountain. Chuanzi doesn't understand. The foreigners with heavy firepower before. No one has ever fought against this old fire talisman. How did they do it? Rocky explained. It was because he used the sliding body technique on Lao Huo Fu. Prevent his claws from attacking people. Of course, to wear him out. They also paid a price. Chuanzi initially didn't understand the meaning of cost. But he soon understood the cost of what Rocky called. It's actually Liu Jiashan's subordinate, Zhao Liu. He is also the biological nephew of the Liu family from Liu Family Mountain. To deal with the old fire talisman, Liu Jiashan sacrificed his nephew's life. Soon the crowd arrived at the cave entrance. Rocky planned to climb up first to stabilize the situation. Watching Rocky climb, Chuenzi couldn't help but ask, "Why does Rocky's sliding technique work against the old fire talisman?" Uncle Lio told him, "This is the advantage of Taoist arts compared to magical arts. Magic has a mystical nature. If you encounter a spirit with greater magic than your own, you will be at a loss. The way of the Tao carries a physical quality, even with differences in ability, but it can still be used as a means of attack." While speaking, Luoki has climbed out of the tree hole. The first thing after coming up. First, we need to subdue the last henchman of Liu Jiashan. Let him release Officer Chen and the others. Rocky had promised Officer Chen to guarantee. It will give him a tremendous credit. It has already been fulfilled. Officer Chen was surprised. Could it be that the treasure has been found? Rocky said, "Not just a treasure. There is also a fugitive involved in the Liu Jiashan case. Moreover, behind him hides a massive energy. Underground Cultural Relics General Administration Trading Group, and the leader of this group, perhaps the largest artifact smuggler since the founding of the nation. Officer Wu has caught him. It's like capturing a giant monster of the Cultural Relics General Administration." Afterwards, Chuenzi and Uncle Lio also climbed up to meet Officer Wu. Officer Wu received the confiscated equipment. Then they contacted the outside world, called in the local military transport helicopter. After this incident, Chuenzi and Uncle Lio returned to the barber shop. Officer Wu suddenly brought good news. The first good news: the treasure sought this time is of immense value. Therefore, Master Lio and Chuenzi made a great contribution. The government is discussing how to give rewards. The second good news: the treasure of Wanbei village has already been located, and the origin of that gigantic skeleton. This is a long-lost treasure secret. November 4, 1917. It was just 3 days before the October Revolution in Tsarist Russia. A Russian duke named Lai Lishijin transferred the family's treasure through special channels and came to Wanbei village in Guangxi to hide. The reason for choosing this channel: it is because this person has deep connections in Vietnam. So through the Vietnamese, found the natural treasure cave in Wanbei village. To cover up the truth, he used fire talismans and Vietnamese Taoist priests. The horned monster created by Lai Zongxuan's magic. It's actually a zombie with legs growing on its head. Kill all the villagers of Wanbei village completely. Then another fire burned the village down completely. They thought this secret could be kept hidden forever. I never expected that half a century later, unexpectedly mistaken by Master Lio and the others, found the treasure. At this point, Officer Wu laughed heartily. Presumably the descendants of this duke. Now I can only stare blankly. Nowadays, they had just brought back the treasure from the cave not long ago. The archaeologists have traced the source of the treasure. Master Lio asked Officer Wu, "The arrangement in the cave and that huge human bone. Is there any saying?" "Of course there is." Officer Wu was just about to speak. "Moreover, this is related to the origin of the treasure. It is said that in August of 1260, Egypt's Mamluk Sultan Qutuz, leading an army of 120,000 troops from Cairo, the game there was hunted to turn the tide. A group of foreign troops from the occupying country was mobilized, launched the counterattack. Among them is the ancestor of Narishkin. At that time, he was a noble, led a Cossack cavalry through the Sahara Desert, preparing to attack the eastern part of Egypt. But there was no GPF in that era. Nayalashidin led the cavalry in a sharp turn in the desert. Afterward they encountered a sandstorm. The violent wind blows away the quicksand. A dilapidated ancient city with crumbling walls appeared. Just as Nershtin was about to enter the ancient city, a massive sand dune suddenly emerged from the edge of the sandy ground. This sand dune looks like a grinning hammer. Afterward, the dry sandy ground. A large pool of blood began to seep out, and after the blood water washed away the quicksand. What was revealed was the enormous human skeleton, and the enormous treasure surrounding the skeleton. Although the Russian cavalry tried their best to transport, but the vast majority of the treasure is still buried in the sand. Only the skeleton remained. Then Narishkin returned to Tsarist Russia with the excavated treasure and bones. However, at this moment they are all deserters. I don't dare return to the main city. Finally, they hid in the forests of the far east Siberia. They returned to St. Petersburg only after the Mongols were defeated. There were hardly any soldiers still alive at that time. Nayarishajin gave them some treasures to send these subordinates away. Then it mysteriously disappeared. Disappearance